The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Doc Mark and Chorus, the little mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. Hello, Chorus. Monster Kids, welcome back. Newbies, welcome aboard. Worshippers, make yourself comfortable in the fruit cellar of the Evil Dead cabin with Henrietta. This is Macabre Cast, episode 75, happening now.
Wow, Doc, episode 75. Who'da thunk? Monster Kids, make sure, tell us what you're going to be watching this Halloween. We'd love to know. And Doc, I have a joke.
You don't tell me. You have a joke?
Why do ghosts hate being caught in the rain?
I don't know, Chorus. Why do ghosts hate being caught in the rain?
Because it dampens their spirits.
And on that note, it's time for horror news.
Life's river shall rise, she said, but then only the strong shall survive, she said.
Ghostbusters donuts are available from Krispy Kreme this Halloween season. Scream Factory releases the 1990 favorite The Faculty to 4K Ultra HD in December, and the original Halloween, Halloween 4 and 5 are slated to return to over 600 theaters this month. And that's it for horror news.
She said.
And Brownie agrees. Brownie, the corpse-sniffing dog.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Word on the street, Doc, is you've kind of been softballing these Halloween movie picks. You haven't really been picking anything too hardcore.
Really? Well, I happen to have a Halloween pick suggestion today that's a bit hardcore. But you hear that, you know who that is. We'll have to get to my Halloween pick after, because I think this is the Horror Chat Matt again with the bell and the knocking.
Well, it's like he said. He gets excited. I think he likes to be here.
Chorus, make me a sign for next week, please. Just to have the sign say bell or knock, not both.
Hey, Doc Mark and Little Karis, Horror Chat Matt, checking in. Doc, I was curious if you did any Halloween traditions on Halloween night itself. For 17 years, I would watch Halloween on Halloween. When my daughter was younger, we would take her out trick-or-treating for a little while, come back and hand out candy to trick-or-treaters, and I would pop on Halloween, which would eventually lead to me binging the entire franchise over the next couple of nights. The last 5 years or so, we've been going up to my best friend's house in Salem, New Hampshire, so that our kids could trick-or-treat together. This will probably be the last year that we do that, as she's 13 and she'll probably be going off and trick-or-treating with her own friends or going to parties in the next couple of years. So it looks like the Halloween on Halloween tradition may be starting back up again. Just curious what you do, if anything. Dark, as always, keep up the great work of bringing all the macabre to all your legions of monster kids as we look forward to each and every week's show.
Oh, Horror Chat sounds so sad. I think you were a little rough on him about the door and the bell. You're gonna scare all your friends away if you keep that up.
I love Horror Chat Matt, and I look forward to hearing from him every week. Sometimes he just comes at that door like, I don't know, Jason Voorhees breaking into the cabin. So, traditional things for Halloween. Well, as a youngin' in the 70s, I have distinct memories of late afternoon eating an early dinner, getting on my costume, and one of the 4 or 5 channels we got on TV would be showing horror movies. Probably WLVI, Channel 56. My memory, I distinctly remember Boris Karloff and Black Sabbath in the background. And I like the night now to just be swamped with horror films. Now we can pretty much put on whatever we want. Unlike the old days, you were just subjected to whatever they were showing. And that's pretty much the reason I'm always asking, what are you going to watch for Halloween? As far as the years of no trick-or-treating, I still dress up to give out candy, hence the last year's mummy outfit. I enjoy spooking the little kids more than I liked trick-or-treating. Well, no, of course, seeing my kids trick-or-treat was the biggest treat. I meant it trumps the years that I trick-or-treated as a kid. Many years during the day, I burn leaves in the burn barrel. The crisp fall air and burning leaves, that's Halloween. And if the state won't give us the day off, I always reserve a vacation day so I can do so. And that's basically anything you want to call traditional horror chat. That's my traditional Halloween.
Drácula le dicen. Drácula. Drácula gogo. Drácula. Y si te descuidas, y si no te escondes, el café te va a gorrear.
Only one more Macabre Cast episode before the big Halloween show. October 28th is the big Halloween show. So send me your personal Halloween memories or haunted happenings or real-life scary stories that happened to you or a friend by October 24th, 5 p.m. That's the Thursday before. So make sure you have them to me before October 24th at 5 p.m. for the big Halloween show on October 28th. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this because Grim Kim is waiting to tell us that she saw The Substance, and she's waiting to say that. And Scary Larry has seen the new Salem's Lot, and he's going to talk about the new Salem's Lot. But you were saying that some feedback out there is I'm kind of softballing some of these Halloween movie picks. That they're not the softball choices.
Yeah, it's kind of hinted at that you don't suggest anything that you don't suggest anything that's hardcore. These are kind of like softball picks for movies.
Well, I'm merely suggesting good movies or maybe what I'd like to hopefully see this Halloween season. But no, we can go there. So here with today's suggestion, Don't Go in the House from 1979. This is basically drive-in grindhouse at its most grittiness.
In this house, 25 years ago, a child was given life.
Donald, come here.
He was raised in isolation,
You're a bad boy.
instructed in fear,
You're evil and you must be punished.
imprisoned by a tormented mind,
Your father let you do things like that, but he's gone now.
and baptized in flames. Now he has come of age. His suffering has ended, and ours is about to begin.
You hear that, old lady?
Whatever you do, don't go in the house.
Suzanne.
Corridor by corridor, he lures you inward towards insanity. Stairway by stairway, he draws you closer to madness.
Oh, God!
And soon, he'll share the terrifying secret behind this door. In the room of steel.
Help me!
Don't go in the house.
This is one of those VHS rentals from the 80s that very often goes overlooked. Maybe even Scary Larry overlooked it, mainly because it was part of what I call the don't films. The don't open the window, don't look in the basement, don't look now, don't be afraid of the dark, don't hang up, don't go in the park, just to name a few. This was directed by Joseph Ellison. I've even heard this called Psycho Meets Maniac. A disturbed man who is sadistically abused by his mother kills women with a flamethrower. Basically, a tour de force in graphic murder. But this video nasty is quite unnerving and scary. 'Tis a sick world we live in, folks, but this film is just reflecting it. Fun fact, though, the house where this was filmed in is the museum of the headquarters of Atlantic Highlands Historical Society in New Jersey. So I guess you can actually still go through the place where this was filmed. So a good grindhouse horror film from 1979, right on the cusp of the slasher boom that was to come. This would be a good double feature with Maniac, actually. You could see this and Maniac and really be grossed out. But Don't Go in the House, 1979.
We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, Little Karis. This is Kim. Grim Kim checking in.
Hi, Grim.
Hi, Grim.
I decided to leave my message now, Mark, because you and I are having so much fun looking at all the retro vintage masks I posted and trying to choose which our favorites are. It's so fun. Thank you for indulging me. I'm so glad someone chimed in with a favorite. That's what I was hoping for. Okay. My twin and I went to see the movie I was mentioning, and we saw The Substance yesterday. What a delight. It surpassed all my expectations. It was so fun on so many levels. Me and my sister were just cracking up at certain parts, and I mean, it definitely has a tongue-in-cheek feel to it, but everything about it was, number one, we give Demi Moore a lot of props for taking the role. I mean, and Chris mentioned G.I. Jane too. It's like she really put herself out there for this, and it did not disappoint. We were laughing at the beginning because it's like, oh, poor Elizabeth Sparkles. She supposedly turned 50 in the movie, but Demi herself, I believe, is 60-ish, and they're trying to make poor her. She looks so terrible before she decides to take the substance, which is kind of like the Matrix. Are you going to choose this or are you going to choose that? And it's like, she looked like $1 million. But that's the point, because as the movie goes on, be careful what you wish for. And me and my sister just kept throwing out all these movie names about different parts of this were so reminiscent of certain elements of a whole slew of movies. There's only one that's kind of like a direct reference to, well, maybe two. One being Carrie. The other is actually part of the set design was this rug in this hallway of this corporate building, and it looks like the rug in The Shining, very, very similar. And there's another part that is very reminiscent of a very famous scene from The Shining too. I'm gonna list you the 15 movies that came to mind when me and Chris were watching this. It was just fantastic. Picture of Dorian Gray, Jekyll and Hyde, The Fly, Alien, Carrie, The Shining, Elephant Man, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Possession, Sunset Boulevard, Mask, Frankenstein, Dressed to Kill, Don't Look Now, and of course, The Thing. Especially as the movie finishes up, and it has such a satisfying ending to this movie. People call it a body horror. Yeah, sure. Okay. You could put it in that category. It was just so fun. The special effects were great. The story was unique in the realm that it was in. It was unique to itself. The acting was fantastic, and it was just so fun. I highly recommend the movie, and if anyone else sees it, please, I would love to discuss it. It was just great. So I just wanted to drop that, and I haven't watched the other one I mentioned yet, Titan. Probably won't start it tonight, but I am going to watch it this week. I hope you guys find all sorts of shreds of joy this week. And I'll talk to you later. Brownie said hello. She had fun sniffing around. It was just like a bunny that just got quartered out on the boulevard and somehow ended up on the sidewalk.
Ew, seriously? That is so gross.
Probably from a coyote. And Brownie was delighted and curious as hell. I had to really look at it to even figure out what the hell it was. It's disgusting, but I'm glad that they bring my dog a lot of joy. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
With some zombies, what a ghastly crew. Viola the vampire was doing the bop, and everything was rocking at the monster's pop.
We only go once around the sun. Nobody lives forever. So, have a Ghostbusters donut, Grim. Personally, I don't like donuts because they're too greasy and heavy, especially in the morning. But go ahead, take one. So I guess this sounds like a pretty good comeback for Demi Moore. Good for her. We'll definitely have to check out The Substance. Sounds good. What do you think, Karis?
What do I think? I'll tell you what I think. I think Twin Grimm is living vicariously through her sister to be on this show when she should just call into the show. Call in, Twin Grimm.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And in your list of movies, you mentioned Dress to Kill, and I assume that's the Brian De Palma Dress to Kill with Michael Caine. That deserves talking about. That deserves a rewatch. Absolutely. But as always, thank you so much for calling in, Grim, Kim, and maybe someday soon, Twin Grim.
You could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry here. Had a quick conversation with a new neighbor, and it turns out she's a horror fan herself. So I gave her the info for Macabre Cast, and hopefully you're going to gain a new follower and fan. Now getting into it. I got to watch 2024's version of Salem's Lot when it dropped last Thursday on Max. Let's get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. The plot line hasn't changed a lot. I love that they kept it set in the 70s, and it does have a kick-ass soundtrack to go along with it. Ben Mears is back as a writer who came back to Jerusalem's Lot, referred to in this movie as The Lot, so I'll do that as well moving forward. His arrival to the lot coincides with the almost opening of Straker and Barlow Antiques, which fans of the 1979 version knows how foreboding that is. A lot of the same characters from the first one. The plot moves along on a nice pace, though it's more of a tight movie given it's an hour shorter than the 1979 made-for-TV miniseries. So there's not a lot of good character development. Overall, it was well-paced and got to the point concisely. The bad. Whoever wrote this screenplay felt the need to change the persona of key characters, and in my opinion, it was both unnecessary and disheartening. In Tobe Hooper's 1979 masterpiece, I really enjoyed how James Mason portrayed Straker. Mason Straker was a force of his own. Cunning and devious, you tended to fear him more than Barlow, since Mr. Barlow's screen time was severely limited in the original, and it actually worked. In this version, actor Piliu, however you pronounce his last name, not even going to try, whether on his own or at the direction of Gary Doberman, who is this year's director, made this Straker a dime store Renfield, a rather smarmy, sniveling antagonist who lived in fear of the Master Barlow, instead of as a strong protector. They also changed Susan's mother's character. Though the mom was just an NPC in the first one, in this one she's rather hateful and more of a manipulator. And then the characters who were the main players in the 1979 version were barely mentioned in this one. And I feel because they cut an hour of film out, they don't give you the whole backstory for Ben Mears or explain why he even came back to the lot, other than losing his parents in a car accident before moving away at age 9. Now for the ugly. For some odd reason, people of faith had to be reminded of their faith in odd ways throughout the movie. Example, whenever several characters encounter the vampires, the nearby crosses, for some unexplained reason, would glow brightly, kind of like a maglite flashlight to let the person know they can use a cross to ward them off. Also, for the last several years, movies of all genres, not just horror, attempt, rather poorly on a lot of occasions, to show a more diverse cast. Now, in my opinion, it doesn't work in this movie. Now, the reason I say this is the period the movie is set in. Rural Maine in the 70s, where this takes place, was almost exclusively all-white population. For no other reason that at that point in history, there weren't people of color living that far up in rural northeast areas. So at the time, you may have a single black family, which you could see how the main character of Mark Petrie, being the outcast kid trying to fit in, can buy that. But you wouldn't have seen a strong black female doctor running the hospital portrayed by Alfie Woodward, or all on the nursing staff. It just wasn't that time in history. So the character change-up feels forced upon you for the sake of having a multiracial cast. Now, if they wanted such diversity, they should have set the movie in the late 2000s or present day. That would make more sense to me. Lastly, Mr. Barlow, he was extra menacing in the 1979 version because he never spoke. You only heard him growl and hiss on occasion. Here, this guy's having full dialogues with people, and to me, it just doesn't work. So you cannot help but compare it to the original 1979 made-for-TV movie. And I gotta stress made-for-TV movie because that was an amazing horror movie, scary, for something that was made for regular TV in the 70s. So I'm gonna give this one 2.5 stars, just because the theory, if it's not broken, don't fix it, guys. Have a good one.
Tick, tick, boom.
Wow, the new Salem's Lot is finally here. Thought it would never get here. And they cut a full hour out of this. It was supposed to be 3 hours. I wish they had just left it that way. Curious to know what it is they cut from that film. But thank you, Larry, for the review, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that movie. You know, Larry and I, we differ a lot in opinions. Sometimes I notice things I like, he doesn't, and vice versa. But he's always spot on. Always gives a great review.
Of course they differ. His standards are higher than yours.
Yes, I'm sure they are, Karis. I'm not going to argue. I'm sure Larry's standards are higher. But always look forward to Larry's reviews because he sees it, so we don't have to. always felt Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, John Carpenter's Halloween 2, was scarier than the original Halloween. There, I said it. This was a great show this week, Monster Kids. And as promised, I have my wife here, Laura Horror.
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, Little Karis. Hi, Monster Kids. I'm so happy to be on the show. I usually listen every single week, but this is my first time actually getting on. Okay, so there was a question about the origin of my interest in horror. So I know that Horror Chat Matt had mentioned watching Creature Double Feature as a kid. I also watched Creature Double Feature as a kid with my dad almost every single weekend. And my mother also liked to watch creepy movies. So occasionally at least, so I would join her for an occasional creepy movie too. Usually just TV movies, once in a while at the movie theater. Then later on in life, I went to the video store in my teens with friends, and we would look for the creepiest movie we could find. I also remember watching Halloween on a teeny tiny, maybe 8 by 8 inch screen on my friend's kitchen table. And there were 3 of us, and we were all hovered around enjoying the creepy movie together, as small as it was.
And you came with some Halloween horror movie watch picks, correct?
Yes, and I actually have recommendations for a few different categories, starting with regular horror movies. Some of you might think I'm boring, but I have to go for the classics. At Halloween time, maybe you've seen these over and over and over again, but to me, just like Dark Mark has to see Jaws every summer, I like to see these every October if possible. And those would be, not in any particular order, Psycho, Halloween, of course, and Dracula, the classic one with Bela Lugosi. I also have some recommendations for parents with young kids, some must-sees. Boo to You Too, Winnie the Pooh. I still like to see that every year. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and the Garfield Halloween special. I love all of those. Also, if you're into horror comedy, I have 3 that are must-sees as well. The Burbs, hands down. You got to see that movie if you haven't seen it yet, with Tom Hanks. Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy, and a classic from the 70s, Love at First Bite. I believe I saw that one in the theater with my mother as a young kid. For anyone who's looking for a spooky TV series, I highly recommend Haunting of Hill House or any of the Mike Flanagan Netflix series.
Thank you, Laura Horror. And I'm sure that all the Monster Kids and the Drac Pack really appreciate your recommendations. And thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show, Dark Mark and Little Karis. And thank you both and all the Monster Kids for being so entertaining every week. I hope everyone has a happy Halloween.
She's a babe. Where did she come from?
You are so rude. You sat there the whole time and said absolutely nothing with your jaw on the floor, which I had to pick up and hand back to you. It really rude. She probably left here thinking that you were just the utmost rudest mummy she has ever met, but that's fine. And you know, next time, seriously, you could say hello, at least. Say something when she comes in the room. Until next time, stay on the road, keep clear of the moors, and beware the moon. But most of all, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon.
This is a Macabre Theater production.
Oh, Lordy!